Hi everyone, this is Astera. How are you doing? Today I'm back with my series on resilience and I want to talk about criticism and how to handle criticism in a way that it can still help us to grow and boost our resilience over time. Well, I guess we all don't like criticism. That's probably a trait that is common to all of us. But unfortunately, it's not possible to go through life without being criticized. We can receive negative feedback almost everywhere. It can be at work, from our bosses or colleagues, or we can receive some negative feedback in our personal life from people that we love, from our family members, and at times even from our friends. So we need to know how to handle criticism in a way that is not threatening to us, but it helps us grow as a person. Quite often we have problems with receiving negative feedback or criticism because we feel threatened. When someone from outside is criticizing or giving us negative feedback on some aspect of our work or maybe on our behavior, that's something that makes us feel defensive. And that's not unusual because we would like to think of ourselves that we are capable, we can do our work in the best way possible, and also that we are this kind of people that can behave in different situations appropriately. So once we have received negative feedback, either on our creation of any sort, like a report that we've prepared for our boss, or maybe a scientific article that we've written, or maybe on some aspect of our behavior during a meeting or some other business or professional event, we feel defensive. We may feel upset that someone is giving us this kind of negative feedback, and we don't really see it as an opportunity to grow and to better ourselves in those areas that were criticized, but we feel that it's a sort of personal attack, either on us or on our creation of any sort, and we don't like it. And that's quite usual. Um, that's pretty often the first reaction that many of us have. Many of us can also not um, be able to react to criticism in that very moment in a productive way. We may feel that we do not want to say what we feel at the moment, or we may not know what to really say to the person that is offering us their feedback. But it's always good to say thank you. I will take it into consideration, or well, thank you for your feedback. I need to think about what you've just said. And that's a good way of handling criticism and then giving yourself time to think more about what you have actually heard from this person and how can you use it for becoming a better person or for improving your work. It's much easier, of course, when we receive the so-called constructive criticism. And when we give criticism to others, we also should always make sure that the criticism that we are giving, the feedback that we are giving, can help the other person to better themselves. So when you get constructive criticism, you are not only criticized on something, you don't get negative feedback on something, but in this kind of productive criticism, there is always some sort of advice included on how to move forward, on how you can better yourself in this particular area. So this sort of criticism is actually very helpful and it can be used for your personal growth and for boosting your resilience over time. Then another thing about criticism is that, as I've already mentioned, quite often we may see it as a sort of personal attack, and it triggers a lot of things. Lots of challenging emotions that we don't know how to cope with. And if you feel that this happens quite often when you are criticized in general, or it happens when you are criticized in some particular area of your expertise or your behavior or your work, then you should start thinking what sort of emotions or feelings are actually triggered by the criticism that you're receiving, and why is that happening. Because all of us have things that are rooted very deeply, even in our childhood, and being aware what criticism brings to the surface is quite useful to work on the ways that we react to different stimuli and different situations. And if you cannot work on this awareness yourself, there is no shame in asking for help. You can ask a coach, or if you feel that this is something more deep, you may want to consult a counselor or a therapist or other mental health professional. There's no shame in doing so. If it helps you to grow as a person and develop yourself and boost your resilience, it's completely alright. And then the last thing about criticism that we should also be aware of is that sometimes criticism may actually not have that much to do with us, but it has more to do with the person who is criticizing us. Of course, it's not always like that, but there might be some instances that you receive some negative feedback which you really don't think is in any way related to the way you behaved, or is not related at all to the quality of your work, but there is something behind it. And of course there can be, because people who sometimes criticize us, they may be triggered by something that we've done as well. So they may have their own unresolved issues, and they react with criticism to what we're doing or we're saying. They may also have their motives in criticizing us that we may not know and not be aware of. They may have some hidden agenda sometimes as well. That's quite common at work, that can happen. So that's another thing to remember with criticism, and that's why we should not treat it always as a personal attack, as an attack on our skills or our behavior or us as a person, but as feedback that we are given and that we can build on and better ourselves and become more resilient over time. Thank you for watching, and see you soon. Bye.